With these can-do videos, you'll see real-life situations where you have to introduce yourself, talk about your family, or give your contact information. So, by the end, you can do them yourself in French. This video is a small portion of our can-do course. To get the full course, including translations, grammar tools, and assessment tests, click the link in the description. Welcome to Can Do French by FrenchPod101.com.
Bonjour à tous, je suis Léa Mercier. Hi everyone, I'm Léa Mercier. In this lesson, you'll learn how to ask what a word is in French.
This is Ben Lee, and he's at a cafe doing a language exchange with his classmate, Justine Jérôme. It's the French portion of the exchange, and he points at the textbook and asks, "How do you say book in French?"
Comment dit-on bouc en français?
Listen to the conversation and focus on the question. Ready?
Comment dit-on bouc en français?
On dit livre.
Once more with the English translation.
Comment dit-on bouc en français?
How do you say book in French?
On dit livre.
You say book. Wondering how you can master these conversations even faster? Here's how. 1. Read along. You get the lesson conversation and translations inside our dialogue tool, so that you see each word as you hear it and understand it all. 2. Practice speaking. By shadowing what you hear, you can also record and compare yourself with native speakers with our voice recording tools. And 3. Take our assessment tests and see how much you remember. These tools are part of our Can Do course. Just click the link in the description to get them.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how Ben asks, "How do you say book in French?"
Comment dit-on bouc en français?
The standard way to ask for the meaning of a word in French follows a simple pattern. First is
Comment?
translating as how in this context.
Comment? Comment?
Next is
Dit-on?
one says,
Dit-on? Dit?
says, as in one says.
Dit? Dit? Dit?
Is from the verb
Dire?
meaning to say.
Dire?
Next is
On?
one, as in one says.
On? On?
Together,
Comment dit-on?
literally how says one, but it translates as how does one say.
Comment dit-on?
Note the word order when asking a question. Verb followed by the subject.
Dit-on?
In this case, when this inverted word order occurs in French, there is a hyphen between the verb and the subject. After this is the English word book. Last is the phrase
En français?
in French.
En français?
First is
En?
in.
En? En?
After this is
Français?
French, as in the French language.
Français? Français?
Note, when the context is clear, you may omit
En français?
altogether,
Comment dit-on book en français?
literally, how one says book in French, but translates as how do you say book in French?
Comment dit-on bouc en français?
Let's take a closer look at the response.
Do you remember how Justine says, "You say book"?
On dit livre.
First is,
On dit.
which literally means one says, but translates here as you say.
On dit. On dit.
After this is the answer to the question,
Livre.
book.
Livre. Livre.
Altogether,
On dit livre.
literally one says book, but it translates as you say book.
On dit livre.
The pattern is,
Comment dit-on English word en français?
how do you say English word in French?
Comment dit-on English word en français?
To use this pattern, simply replace the English word placeholder with the word you want to know. Imagine you want to know the French word for pen. Ask, how do you say pen in French? Ready?
Comment dit-on peine en français?
How do you say pen in French?
Comment dit-on peine en français?
This lesson introduces the grammatically complex but commonly used pattern, the impersonal form with on. The on construction is used to express what people do in general, rather than point to a specific person. The pattern is on plus a verb in the third singular person. The example used in the lesson was on dit, one says. Let's quickly look at a few more examples. On appelle, one calls, as in, one calls it book. On mange, one eats, as in, one eats a lot at Christmas. On dort, one sleeps, as in, one sleeps late on Saturday. Also note that all nouns in French have grammatical gender. When learning new words, it's often important to identify this gender so that you can remember how to use it in the future. One simple way to do this is to follow up after someone tells you what a word is in French. You can simply say un ou une after being told the word to clarify if it's masculine or feminine. If the person responds with un, you know it's masculine. And if they say une, it's feminine.
Let's look at some more examples. Listen and repeat or speak along with the native speakers.
Comment dit-on book en français?
On dit livre.
Comment dit-on book en français? Comment dit-on peine en français?
On dit stylo.
Comment dit-on peine en français? Comment dit-on bague?
On dit sac.
Comment dit-on bague? Comment dit-on pencil en français?
On dit crayon.
Comment dit-on pencil en français?
Comment appelle-t-on ça?
On appelle ça livre.
Comment appelle-t-on ça? Did you notice how I use a different sentence pattern?
Wondering how you can master these conversations even faster? Here's how. 1. Read along. You get the lesson conversation and translations inside our dialogue tool, so that you see each word as you hear it and understand it all. 2. Practice speaking. By shadowing what you hear, you can also record and compare yourself with native speakers with our voice recording tools. And 3. Take our assessment tests and see how much you remember. These tools are part of our Can-Do course. Just click the link in the description to get them.
Comment appelle-t-on ça?
How do you call this?
Comment appelle-t-on ça?
This literally means, Hal calls one this, but it translates as, how do you call this? To create this pattern, replace
dit,
says with
appelle,
calls.
appelle, appelle,
Note also the
te,
between the verb and the subject. It's added to help make pronunciation easier. Also, replace the English word this with
ça, ça, ça.
recall
En français,
in French. May be omitted if understood from context.
comment appelle-t-on ça?
How do you call this?
Comment appelle-t-on ça?
This is a very useful pattern for using French to learn French. Do you remember the response? You call this book.
On appelle ça livre.
First is,
On appelle,
which literally means one calls, but translates here as you call.
on appelle, on appelle.
Next is
Ça,
this.
ça, ça.
After this is the answer to the question,
Livre,
book.
livre.
Altogether,
On appelle ça livre.
literally one calls this book, but it translates as you call this book. Let's review the key vocabulary.
Sac,
Bag,
sac, sac. Un sac,
a bag,
stylo,
pen,
stylo, stylo. Un stylo,
a pen,
crayon,
pencil,
crayon, crayon. Un crayon,
a pencil,
ça,
this,
ça, ça. Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say French, as in the language? Français. Français. And how to say in French? En français. En français. Do you remember how to say how? Comment? Comment? Do you remember how Ben asks, how do you say book in French?
Comment dit-on book en français?
Comment dit-on book en français? Do you remember how to say book? Livre. Livre. And do you remember how Justine says? You say book.
On dit livre.
On dit livre. Do you remember how to say this? Ça. Ça. And how to say, how do you call this? Comment appelle-t-on ça? Comment appelle-t-on ça?
Let's practice. Imagine you're Karen Lee, and you're having a language exchange lunch with Pauline Petit. You point to the pen and ask, "How do you say pen in French?" Ready?
Comment dit-on peine en français?
On dit stylo.
Listen again and repeat.
Comment dit-on peine en français? Comment dit-on peine en français?
Now you want to know the word for bag. Omit in French. Ready?
Comment dit-on bague?
On dit sac.
Listen again and repeat.
Comment dit-on bague? Comment dit-on bague?
Let's try one more. Imagine you're Sasha Lee, and you're studying with your classmate. Point at a pencil and ask, "What do you call this?" Ready?
Comment appelle-t-on ça?
On appelle ça crayon.
Listen again and repeat.
Comment appelle-t-on ça? Comment appelle-t-on ça?
This is the end of this lesson.
Now, here's what you can do to cement this conversation in your head. Review the conversation with our dialogue tool and lesson transcripts. Study the key words and phrases with our spaced repetition flashcards. Review the key grammar and cultural tips inside the lesson notes. And test yourself with our assessment tests. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to access our Can-Do course.
Now you know how to ask how you say something in French. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.